My name is Lyra Bennett, 31 years old. 6 weeks before my wedding, my fiancé looked across a candlelit restaurant table and asked me to invite the woman he had once destroyed me with. Not in those exact words, of course. Caleb always knew how to soften a blade before sliding it in. We were sitting in the back corner of Marlowe's, the same restaurant where he had proposed 8 months earlier. There was wine between us, a leather folder full of vendor invoices, and a guest list covered in my handwriting. I had spent that whole week calling florists, confirming hotel blocks, and pretending the tightness in my chest was just normal wedding stress. Then Caleb set his glass down. "So," he said carefully, "I've been thinking." I looked up from the list. "About what?" His expression changed before he answered. That was how I knew. There was a certain look Caleb got whenever he had already made a decision and was only waiting for me to become convenient enough to accept it. "I want to invite Vanessa." The restaurant noise seemed to pull back from us. I didn't ask which Vanessa. I didn't need to. "Your ex-girlfriend," I said. He exhaled, like I was already being difficult. "Yes, Vanessa." "The same Vanessa you cheated on me with." His jaw tightened. "Lyra." "No, I just want to make sure we're talking about the same person." He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "We've healed from that, haven't we? 2 years earlier, I had found out about Caleb and Vanessa, the way people always think they never will." His laptop had been open on the kitchen island while he was in the shower. A message notification slid across the screen. "Last night was amazing. I miss you already." I still remember how clean the kitchen smelled that night. Lemon soap, burnt coffee, rain on the windows, ordinary things, cruelly continuing while my life split down the middle. He cried. He begged. He said it had been 3 months. He said it was over. He said Vanessa meant nothing. He said wedding planning had made him feel trapped, that our arguments had made him weak, that he hated himself for hurting me. I stayed. I paid for therapy sessions that cost $200 each. I sat on a beige couch beside him while he said the right words in the right order. I believed him when he promised he had cut contact completely. Or maybe I didn't believe him. Maybe I just wanted to. Now he sat across from me, handsome in his blue shirt, twisting the stem of his wine glass, like this was a normal conversation. "She's in a better place now," he said. "I think it could be healing for all of us if she came. It would show everyone we've moved past it." My fingers went still on the guest list. "Everyone?" I asked. He blinked. "You said everyone. Who knows you've been thinking about this?" Caleb looked away for half a second. That half second told me everything. "We've been talking again," he admitted. I felt something inside me drop, but it didn't break. It just landed. Heavy. Final. "How long?" "It's not like that." "How long, Caleb?" He rolled his eyes, actually rolled his eyes at me, as if my pain was an inconvenience he had already scheduled around. "About 6 months, he said. "Texts mostly. A few calls. We're adults, Lyra. It's not a big deal." 6 months. For 6 months, while I was choosing centerpieces, he had been choosing secrecy. While I was looking at houses for us, he had been reopening a door I had nearly died closing. While I was saving for our honeymoon, he was laughing with the woman who had already taught me what betrayal sounded like through a laptop notification. I waited for anger. It didn't come. Instead, everything went cold and clear. "If that's what you need," I said. Caleb's shoulders loosened. "Really?" "I heard you." He smiled, relieved. He didn't understand that I had not agreed. I had only listened. The next morning, Caleb left for work at 7:40, kissing my forehead like nothing had happened. I stood in the hallway until the elevator doors closed behind him. Then I walked back inside, picked up my phone, and called in sick. My first call was to the venue. My voice was calm as I explained that the wedding would not be happening. The coordinator paused, then softened when I mentioned the 6-week cancellation clause. 80% of the deposit would be returned. $11,200. My money. Not ours. Mine. The second call was to the caterer. The third was to the photographer, who was so kind I almost cried. The fourth was to a travel agent. New Zealand, I said. For your honeymoon. I looked at the ring on my finger. No, I said. Just me. By noon, the wedding was disappearing one booking at a time. By 3, I was packing. Caleb's apartment had never really been mine. His name was on the lease. I had moved in because he said it made sense, because we were building a future, because love had convinced me practicality was romance. I took my clothes, my camera gear, my grandmother's vinyl records, the espresso machine I bought with my Christmas bonus, and the small ceramic bowl I had made in a class Caleb once forgot to attend. Then I placed my engagement ring on the kitchen counter. Beside it, I left a note. I heard you. I hope you find what you're looking for. I locked the door behind me and went to my best friend Mara's apartment. Caleb called at 6:47 p.m. I watched his name light up my screen. I didn't answer. Then came the texts. Where are you? Why is your stuff gone? Lyra, this isn't funny. Please call me. We need to talk like adults. The next day, the venue refund hit the account he thought was our wedding fund. It was my checking account. I had only given him access to view it for planning. 30 seconds after the deposit cleared, I removed him. That was when his panic truly began. 4 days after I left, my phone felt like it was vibrating nonstop. At first, Caleb's messages were confused, then worried, then furious. The progression was almost predictable. Day 1, Lyra, please tell me you're okay. Day 2, you can't just disappear. Day 3, this is unbelievably immature. By day 4, he had apparently discovered the venue cancellation. That was when his mother got involved. If Caleb was skilled at making excuses, his mother was an artist. Margaret Cole had never liked me. Not openly. Never in ways anyone could quote back to her. She simply had a talent for making me feel as if I were perpetually standing in the wrong room. Too practical. Too ordinary. Too working class. Too something. Always something. She called me 17 times in one day. 17. The voicemail started angry. How dare you embarrass our family? Then became threatening. You're going to regret this. Then strangely self-righteous. Think about all the guests you've hurt. Not once did she mention Caleb's choices. Not once. Only the wedding, the event, the appearance, the performance. As if the marriage mattered less than the photographs. I deleted every voicemail, then blocked her number. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. On the 3rd evening, someone knocked on Mara's apartment door. When I looked through the peephole, my stomach tightened. Caleb. I still don't know how he found me. Maybe location history. Maybe a mutual friend. Maybe desperation makes people resourceful. Either way, there he was. His eyes were red. His hair looked unwashed. And for a brief moment, seeing him standing there triggered something painful inside me. Because I remembered the version of him I had loved. The version that made me believe we would grow old together. Then he opened his mouth. You can't do this. Just like that. The feeling vanished. I opened the door halfway. Actually, I said quietly, I already did. He stared at me. We have a wedding in 6 weeks. We had a wedding. People bought plane tickets. You invited the woman you cheated with. His face tightened. Vanessa isn't the issue. I almost laughed. The woman you slept with isn't the issue? You always twist things. No, I said. Reality twists things. He stepped closer. We were friends. Friends you secretly contacted for 6 months. I was going to tell you. When? He hesitated. That tiny pause told me everything. When? I repeated. Eventually, I folded my arms. That's not an answer. He ran a hand through his hair. You said we were rebuilding trust. We were. Then why are you acting like this? Because trust isn't rebuilt through secrets. Because healing isn't secretly reopening wounds. Because every word out of his mouth sounded like a man trying to rewrite history while I was still standing inside it, but I was too tired to explain. Instead, I said, "You didn't just contact her." His expression flickered. The reaction lasted less than a second. Most people wouldn't have noticed. I did. "There's more, isn't there?" "Lyra, there's more." "No." The answer came too quickly. A reflex. A lie. I suddenly remembered something from 2 years ago. One of our therapy sessions. The counselor had asked him what honesty meant. Caleb had answered, "Not hiding things that matter." At the time, I thought it sounded sincere. Now it sounded like a confession. Because apparently he never believed Vanessa mattered. Not enough to tell me the truth. His face hardened. "You are throwing away 4 years." "No," I said. "You are." The silence stretched. Then his expression changed. Colder. Meaner. "Fine." The word landed between us. "Fine." He pointed toward me. "You're paying for all of this." I blinked. "The deposits. The cancellations. The damages. My family isn't eating those costs." I stared at him. Then I started laughing. Not because anything was funny, because it was absurd. The deposits were mine. His face fell. "What?" "I paid them. We paid them." "No." I shook my head. "I paid them. The account was mine." His eyes widened. "The money already came back. You can't be serious." I canceled everything the morning after our conversation. His jaw literally dropped. For several seconds he couldn't speak. Then came the insults. Selfish, cruel, vindictive, heartless. Each accusation sounded stranger than the last. Finally, I closed the door. I thought that was the end. It wasn't. About an hour later, I received a text from Vanessa. Not Caleb. Vanessa. "Hey." I heard what happened. I stared at the screen. The message continued. "There's nothing going on between us anymore. Please don't blame Caleb. Anymore." That single word hooked into my brain. Anymore. Not nothing. Not never. Anymore. I read the text 5 times. Each time that word became louder. By midnight, I had made a decision. A decision I should have made 2 years earlier. I found Vanessa's former girlfriend. The woman Vanessa had been dating during the affair. We had never spoken before, but we had something in common. We both knew what betrayal looked like. I sent a careful message. I wasn't expecting a response. Instead, she called me the next morning. And everything changed. Her name was Rachel. She sounded exhausted before she even said hello. "You deserve to know," she told me. Then she started talking. "The affair I discovered 2 years ago? That wasn't the affair. That was merely the section I accidentally caught." According to Rachel, Vanessa and Caleb had never truly stopped. On, off, on, off. For years. The entire relationship. The entire engagement. The entire future I thought I was building. I sat frozen while screenshots arrived one after another. Messages from 2 years ago. 1 year ago, about 8 months ago. 6 months ago. 3 months ago. Last night was perfect. Miss you. Can't wait to see you again. Wish things were different. Thinking about you. Hundreds of messages. Hundreds. Every screenshot felt like another brick collapsing from a house I didn't realize was already hollow. I spent hours staring at them. Not crying. Not screaming. Just staring. Because grief sometimes arrives quietly. Sometimes it sits beside you on a couch and patiently dismantles every memory you trusted. That night I barely slept. I kept replaying moments. Birthdays, vacations, anniversaries, therapy sessions, promises. Every memory now had shadows hiding behind it. but one realization hurt more than all the others. The affair hadn't survived despite the second chance. It survived because of it. I had given Caleb another opportunity, and he had used it to become better at hiding. The next morning, I looked at the mountain of screenshots spread across my laptop screen. Then I selected a single contact, the one person in Caleb's family who had always treated me with kindness, his father, and with one click, I sent everything. 2 hours after I sent the screenshots, Caleb's father called. I almost didn't answer. For several seconds, I just stared at his name on my screen. Then I picked up. Neither of us spoke immediately. Finally, he cleared his throat. "I'm sorry, Lyra." His voice sounded older, tired, broken. "I didn't know." 3 words. That's all he said. Then he hung up. At the time, I didn't realize that phone call would detonate an entire family. But it did. Over the next few days, bits and pieces reached me through mutual friends. Caleb's father confronted him. Margaret tried to defend him, tried to explain, tried to minimize years of deception into misunderstandings and mistakes. Apparently, that strategy didn't work. For the first time in decades, their marriage was cracking under the weight of reality. And even then, somehow, Margaret still blamed me. Not Caleb. Not the lies. Not the cheating. Me, because exposing the truth was apparently worse than creating it. But things became even stranger a week later. I was at work. Just another Tuesday. I manage commercial development projects for a mid-sized construction company, and my morning was packed with budget reviews and contractor meetings. Around 11, the receptionist called. "Lyra?" "Yeah?" "There's someone here asking for you. Says it's an emergency." My stomach dropped. For one terrifying second, I thought someone had died. I hurried downstairs. The moment the elevator doors opened, I regretted it. Caleb was standing in the lobby. Beside him was Margaret. Both looked like they owned the building. Both looked like they expected obedience. I stopped several feet away. "What emergency?" Caleb stepped forward. "We need to talk." "No." Margaret folded her arms. "You don't get to avoid this." I actually laughed. The audacity was almost impressive. "I think you'll find I do." "Fix this," she said. Not please. Not can we talk. Fix this. Like she was ordering a defective appliance repaired. "Fix what?" "The wedding." I blinked. "The cancelled wedding?" "Yes." She sounded genuinely confused by my confusion. "You need to reinstate the bookings." I stared at her. For several seconds, just stared. "My son made mistakes," she continued, "but people bought tickets. Family members made arrangements. There are nearly 200 guests involved." "A mistake?" I asked quietly. 4 years of lying is a mistake?" Margaret waved a hand, dismissive, casual, as though she were discussing weather. "That's between you two." I felt something inside me harden. "Exactly," she frowned. "You're being selfish." "No. Think about everyone's reputation." There it was. Reputation. Again. Always reputation. Never integrity, never honesty, never trust, only appearances, only optics, only what people would think. Caleb suddenly grabbed my arm. "Please." The desperation in his voice startled me. For a second, I saw genuine fear. Not fear of losing me. Fear of consequences. Fear of accountability. Fear of finally living inside the truth. "We can fix this," he said. "We always fix things." I slowly removed his hand. "No." "Lyra?" "No." His face crumpled. "I know I made mistakes. Mistakes don't last 4 years." He looked away. That told me everything. Even now, even standing in the rubble, he still couldn't say it. Couldn't call it what it was. Betrayal. Lying. Cheating. Cowardice. Margaret stepped closer. "If you don't repair this situation, we'll sue." I blinked. Excuse me? For financial damages. I almost laughed. Again. Please do. She froze. I'd love to explain the screenshots to a judge. The color drained from her face. For the first time during the entire conversation, she had nothing to say. Nothing. Silence. Beautiful silence. Then Caleb whispered, "You can't just walk away." I looked directly into his eyes. We didn't have a life together. His expression cracked. We had a lie together. Then I turned around, walked back toward the elevators, and never looked back. Security escorted them out a few minutes later. Afterward, my boss called me into his office. I expected a lecture. Instead, he shook his head. "That was your ex-fiancé?" "Unfortunately." "He showed up here with his mother?" "Apparently." My boss stared at me. Then he laughed. "That's one hell of a bullet you dodged." For the first time in weeks, I smiled. 3 days later, I boarded a flight to New Zealand. The trip that should have been my honeymoon became something better. Freedom. The first few days were hard. I kept checking my phone, expecting chaos, expecting drama, expecting another emotional ambush. By day 5, I stopped checking. By day 7, I slept through the night. By day 10, I realized something shocking. I wasn't grieving Caleb anymore. I was grieving the version of him I thought existed. Those aren't the same thing. When I finally returned home 2 weeks later, the story waiting for me was astonishing. The wedding date had come and gone. Margaret tried to salvage it. She rented a restaurant, rebranded the canceled wedding as a family celebration. A celebration of love. A celebration of togetherness. A celebration of absolutely anything except the truth. Nearly 200 guests had originally been invited. Less than 40 showed up. Once people learned why the wedding ended, attendance collapsed. The truth travels quickly when enough people are tired of protecting lies. Meanwhile, Vanessa's life was unraveling too. Because Rachel had finally reached her limit. All those screenshots, she sent them to someone else. Vanessa's wife. The woman who had spent 2 years believing she was in a faithful marriage. She knew now. Everything. From what I heard, they're in counseling. Whether their marriage survives isn't my concern. The consequences belong to the people who created them, not the people who exposed them. As for Caleb, he found new ways to contact me for months. Blocked numbers, mutual friends, new accounts. Eventually, I changed my phone number. The final message I ever received from him came through a mutual acquaintance. It said, "I hope you're happy destroying everything we built." I read it once, then deleted it, because the truth was simple. I didn't destroy what we built. He did. Years earlier, every lie was a crack. Every secret was a missing brick. Every betrayal weakened the foundation. The collapse just happened later. A month after returning from New Zealand, I moved into a small apartment overlooking the city. 1 bedroom. A decent gym downstairs. A kitchen just large enough for my espresso machine. My grandmother's records sit on a shelf near the window. Every morning I play one while making coffee. The apartment isn't luxurious. It isn't impressive, but it's peaceful. And peace is worth more than any wedding venue. I'm 32 now. Starting over wasn't what I planned. But sometimes the ending you fear becomes the beginning you need. I still think about the woman who sat across from Caleb at that restaurant. The woman who heard him ask to invite Vanessa to the wedding. If she had ignored the warning, if she had compromised one more time, if she had chosen comfort over truth, her future would have been very different. Mine is far from perfect. But when I wake up now, I don't feel anxious. I don't wonder what message might appear on a screen. I don't question every late-night text. I don't live waiting for the next betrayal. And that freedom? That's worth more than any marriage built on lies.